fish looks so much like so sad, and the goat just kind of looks fine.
Wonder why.
Because the fish is on land, and it's like, why are you doing this to me? I thrive in the water.
Goats thrive wherever.
I don't think goats thrive in the water.
You'd be surprised.
I might actually. I don't know. They might be able to swim. I haven't done the research there.
In the beginning, there was goat versus fish. The goat fish. And goat versus fish said that there should be goat and that there should be fish. There is no alpha or omega. There is no black or white. There is no good or evil. There is only goat and fish. And goat versus fish. Welcome to the Goat vs. Fish podcast, recorded at the world-famous Comedy Store, Los Angeles, a place of Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish speaks directly to you now, speaks directly to you, and you speak directly to Goat vs. Fish. You have many questions, yes? Who is Goat vs. Fish? What is Goat vs. Fish? Why is Goat vs. Fish? But there is only one question. Are you goat? Or are you fish? Who shall triumph, the goat or the fish? Let us find out on this versus of Goat versus Fish. In a recent versus, Goat vs. Fish promised to bring you verses. You who listen promised to bring you verses. And in that verses there was one goat-leaning fence-sitter, Mia Mars, and one fish-leaning fence-sitter, Alex Hooper, they call them. Goat vs. Fish had hoped that through the power of verses, these fence-sitterly ones could discover their true goat and fish and forever leave the fence. Oh, the fence, the fence, the fence, the fence on which the fence-sitters do sit, forever discomfortably choosing between goat and fish. They may claim to sit in reverence, they may claim to sit in defiance. They may claim they are goat versus fish, they may claim they are the goat fish, but enough of these fence-sitters, enough of these fence-sitters that choose neither goat nor fish. Goat vs. Fish now brings you new verses, Do we have two goat? Do we have two fish? Do we have goat versus fish? Let us learn now of these ones that come before goat versus fish to celebrate the verses of Goat versus Fish. This versus Goat versus Fish speaks to two ones. What do the ones call this one?
I'm Alex Caine.
It is called Alex Caine. It is called Alex Caine. And what do the ones call this one?
Nate Robinson Jr.
It is called Nate Robinson Jr. Now, before we begin this verses, let us learn of these ones. Yes, the one that is called Alex Caine, yes?
Yes.
Would you ask the one that is called Nate Robinson Jr. if it is goat or fish? Would you ask it, are you goat or are you fish for Goat versus Fish?
All right, well, Nate Robinson Jr., are you goat or are you fish?
I am goat.
It is a goat! It is a goat! It is a goat! We celebrate this goat. High goat for this goat. High goat for this goat!
Hi, goat.
Goat. How does it feel to be a goat? Why do you choose goat?
There are many reasons. Instinctually, it was the only natural choice for me to choose goat. And ultimately, I've seen no reason to waver or switch sides or even fence it.
It is a goat. Thank you, goat. Thank you for choosing goat. Now, goat.
Yes.
Would you ask this one that is called Alex Caine? Would you ask it, are you goat or are you fish? Would you do this for Goat versus Fish?
Alex Caine,
Mm-hmm.
are you goat or are you fish?
I'm a fish.
It is a fish!
I'm a fish.
It is a fish! It is a fish! It is a goat! It is a fish! It is goat versus fish! Goat versus fish! Goat versus fish versus goat versus fish. It is goat versus fish. The words are goat versus fish.
Goat versus fish.
It's pretty simple. They don't
Yes.
change.
I'm sorry. I tried. I wanted to sing along.
Ah, but you did what you did. This goat
He
did
didn't.
not even attempt
He
to
didn't
celebrate
even try
with
to
goat
do it.
versus fish. What has happened, goat?
I
Yeah,
cannot
goat.
sing with a fish.
Ah, it will not celebrate
I
with
will
this
not
fish.
sing with a fish.
It will not even celebrate with
Typical
this
goat.
fish.
Just always, oh, the fish are beneath me.
It is what it is. That is the lay of the land.
And now you have to bring in the land to this argument? Of course. I'm not like, oh, that's the way of the sea, the way of the ocean.
Because that's not a phrase.
You say that, but the pirates used to say it all the time
And where did they end up?
in feature films, like all over the place. Somalia.
You see, it is already a versus. It is already a versus, yes. Now, goat.
Yes,
What is the strength of this goat? What strength will you bring to this versus of goat and fish?
the strength of knowledge.
Ah, it is a knowledgeable goat. Explain your knowledge to goat versus fish.
Well, although there is no hierarchy amongst the goat themselves, I myself have circled the fence for quite some time. I am one of the earlier goats, and quite frankly, I've seen a lot come and go, and I know all there is to know amongst the goats. We have a lot on our side, on the goat side, and frankly, I don't know any fish that I could even think of that have ever been important.
And it was written, and it was written. Fish.
Yes.
What is the strength of this fish that you bring to versus the goat?
Well, as a fish, I feel like I need to give a voice to other fish. Yes, we haven't had a fish in a stance of power because the goats have kept us down for so long down in the ocean. Like, just look at this table. There are 8 goat cards and 7 fish cards. It's not fair. Look at what we've been doing. The fish, we're rising. We're doing our best. We're good, strong fish. And it's important that we fish have a voice, even though you goats always come and just poop all over us because that's all goats do. We fish, we're strong, we have a community under the sea. It's the way of life for us, and we have many different kinds of fish, where there's only one kind of goat.
Now, fish.
Mm.
Looking at this goat, do you suppose that you will triumph over this goat? Do you have it in this fish to triumph over this goat?
I don't know goat versus fish, but I'm going to try my best because we as fish need someone to rally around.
And you are a fish. Did you know, fish, that there have not been so many true fish on the Goat vs. Fish podcast lately? Yes, you are a fish. You represent fish in this versus.
That's what I came here to do.
And goat, looking at this fish, can you triumph over this fish? Can you triumph over this fish?
Not only would I triumph over this fish, but any fish stands no chance against a true goat.
Say that to a 4,000-pound tuna, okay?
Is that what you are? Are you a 4,000-pound tuna fish?
I wouldn't say I am. I'm more like an angel fish. Where's the angel goats?
Well, goats have the ability to actually make noise.
Make some noise, goat. Make some noise. What is the sound of goat, since you have claimed it, goat? What is the sound of goat?
Well, there are many different forms of goat, despite what this one fish may say. In fact, one of the most famous goat, as you can see, goat have horns.
It is so. It is so. Goat do have the horn, yes.
No one does.
One of the most famous and most powerful goat of all time, Lucifer, a.k.a. Beelzebub.
Ah, that is a famous goat. Is that
Bringing
so?
in Satan to the argument.
He is powerful, is he not?
Oh, Fish, you have heard of this goat.
I have heard of this goat. Most people aren't big fans of this goat, I must say.
GoatVsFish has not met this one that you say is a goat, has not spoken to this goat. Is it a pleasant goat? Is it a powerful goat? What sort of goat is this one that you call a
Lucifer.
Ah, it is called Lucifer, yes.
It's
very
not a
powerful.
pleasant goat.
He is powerful and often misunderstood, as many goats
I just have
are.
to argue. The fact that GoatVsFish himself has not heard of the goat Lucifer means you are losing credibility in this
Goat
argument.
versus fish does not need to worry its time with the actual names of its goat or its fish. It doesn't bother with nonsense like that. But you as a fish have heard of said goat, where I'm still waiting for a powerful fish to come out of your
Have
mouth.
you never heard of the story of Jonah and the whale, sir?
The what?
The whale. This was before whales were what we know of as now as mammals. They were giant fish, as it is translated in the Haftorah.
Ah, you claim whale as fish.
In this story, they were described as giant fish, and we as people changed it to whale in the story.
It is on evidence. GoatVsFish has been pondering if this large one that seems to be of the sea is a goat or a fish. Would the goat not like to claim the one that is called whale? Such a large one to be in the sea, but you, fish, you have claimed it with an evidence
We
as
claim it.
fish,
Well,
yes?
We claim it.
I believe a narwhal is within the whale family, correct?
I believe a narwhal is still a fish with a horn.
That
so
was not the
therefore we have
question. That was
horns.
not the question.
We have
That was
horns,
not
and
the
we have
question.
singing
That
fish,
was
which
not
we
the
need to
question
bring
that I
back
asked.
to
I
that
said
conversation.
a narwhal is in the whale family, correct? Yes or no?
That is correct.
It has a horn, correct? Yes or no?
That is correct.
It is a goat.
It has claimed it as goat. It has claimed it as goat.
You can keep your tiny narwhals. We have the blue whale, we have the sperm whale, we have the humpback whale, and we have the killer whale.
Well, if a whale is a fish and a narwhal is a goat, who would triumph in a versus between a whale and a narwhal? Who triumphs in that versus of GoatVsFish? This is a versus. This is a versus.
Have you seen a narwhal's horn?
No.
Very pointy.
Have you ever seen a bus?
No.
Well, they are giant. A blue whale is 100 feet long. You bring a little toothpick on your nose to that fight. The blue whale will jump out of the water and just
Toothpick.
crush. Oh, I didn't mean to slap the table. I'm sorry.
Toothpick.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to call your
Narwhals.
tooth out of your net, out of your face.
Narwhals are massive beasts. It is true.
How big are they?
It is a question.
That is a question. Well, they obviously vary in size, but the biggest narwhal on record,
I'm listening.
about the size of the Staten Island Ferry.
And how big is the Staten Island Ferry?
Google it.
Well, no matter how big the Staten Island Ferry is, the average blue whale is still 100 feet long. That is the average, not the
100
largest.
verses long. 100 verses
100
long.
verses. Like, it's almost the size of a football field. It's a third of the size of a football field.
The Staten Island Ferry can fit 3 football fields.
Well, that is a versus. That is a versus for another versus,
Yeah,
yes.
we're not talking boats.
We're talking narwhals.
fish and goats.
Talking narwhals.
I still
killing-
will take my blue whale in your one giant narwhal because you're only recording one narwhal has ever been that big.
We are about to begin the verses. We are
Okay.
about to begin the verses. It has already been such a verses.
Mm-hmm.
But we are about to continue a new verses of these goat and fish. Yes, before we begin, yes? For finally, fish, before this verses, what do you say to this goat?
You seem like a respectable goat, but you don't stand a chance.
And goat, what do you say to this fish?
All goat are respectable. And I pity you.
The verses of choosing. The verses of choosing. Before you is the verses of choosing. Within the verses of choosing, there are 10 goat, 10 fish, and 10 fence sitters. In these verses of choosing, there shall be 5 choosings each. 5 for goat, 5 for fish. And we shall see who triumphs. We shall see who triumphs, the goat or the fish. Who shall do the first choosing, the goat or the fish? The first to say goat versus fish shall do the first choosing.
Goat versus fish.
It is the fish.
Yeah.
It is the fish. What has happened, goat? What has happened, goat?
Fishes go first.
Round 1, win. That's what I call it.
Fishes go first.
Choose. And what is the first choosing?
Fence sitter.
It is fence sitter. It is fence sitter. Fish, what is the meaning of this fence sitter? You have chosen fence sitter in the first choosing of this verses of choosing.
Mm-hmm. Well, what a fence sitter is someone who probably at one point was a goat and looked at the goat society and said, oh no, this is not for me. These people are rude. And they got on the fence, as most do, and they're like, what do I do with my life? Because I've been only told lies and terrible things about the fish. And then they meet one fish and they're like, oh, fish are good people. So they're just a fish waiting to happen is what I would call a fence sitter.
Ah, that is that fence sitter. Ah, it has spoken of that fence sitter. You claim it is becoming fish. It still sits on the fence. It is a fence sitter now.
For now.
It is time for the choosing of the goat. The choosing of the goat. What is your choosing, goat?
Goat.
It is a goat. The goat has chosen goat. Goat, how does it feel to choose goat?
Magnificent. One word. That's it. Magnificent.
And it was written that it was a magnificent choosing. Fish, are you ready for your second choosing?
Yes.
The second choosing of the fish. What is it?
Another fish to be, or fence sitter.
It is another fence sitter. And you say that this is the same as the other fence sitter, that it was a goat and that now it is soon to become a fish, but it still sits on the fence?
That is correct.
Goat versus Fish was ready to hear what this one said about the first fence sitter, but if it is all fence sitters for this fish, then it seems like a very fence sitterly versus. Do you suspect that there will be more fish to come? More fish to come for fish?
I worry that the goat has weighted in the goat's favor so that I would not be pulling more fish. I worry that there's a scandal going on here.
Ah, you say that the goat has made this versus so that you cannot triumph.
Some call it rigged, yes.
A goat does not need to rig anything.
Is that so? Then choose goat, the second choosing of the goat. It is a fish.
Treat it with respect.
It is dinner. The only need for a fish on my side is for nothing more than consumption and sustenance.
I don't know why you have to be so mean.
It is goat versus fish.
It is goat versus fish.
Not goat plays with fish. Not goat embodies fish.
Goat embodies fish. Well, in this, you'd be a goat embodying a fish because you're putting it in your body, and therefore it becomes part of you.
That is an evidence. If you consume the fish, then would you not become fish? Ponder it as this fish does the third choosing of the fish. The third choosing of the fish. It is the third choosing of the fish.
And I got a fish.
It is a fish.
I got a fish.
Just when things were seeming all goat, now it is becoming fish.
It is leaning fish now.
Tell us of this fish. Tell us of this fish.
This fish is Jerry. He's a good fish. He pays his taxes on time. He has a family of 4 other little fish. His wife died of fish poisoning. And it's just, he's raising a family on his own, and he's just a good dude.
Oh, you have said it is a good fish.
Yes, it's a good fish.
Now, Goat versus Fish has said there is no good or evil. There is only goat and fish. Is this to say that this fish has some fence-sitterliness to it?
I believe I used the wrong synonym. It is a positive fish for everyone in its being, like around it.
Thank you, yes. Thank you for clarifying this for Goat versus Fish.
I apologize
yes.
for my mistake.
It is your first versus. It is your first versus, yes. Are you ready to choose, Goat, for the third choosing?
I am ready.
Third choosing of goat. The goat goes to choose a third one. Will it be goat or fish or fence-sitter? Let us see the choosing of the goat.
It is a fence-sitter.
It is a fence-sitter now.
Now, what a fence-sitter is one who is weak. And it has the ability to choose to become stronger, become a goat, or it chooses to become weaker. I think this fence sitter will eventually side with the goat.
You only think that, but I'm positive that it will be a fish one day.
Now, it was starting all goat for this goat, but then it became fish, and then it became a fence-sitter that is not even there to versus the goat. Yes, do you suspect what you suspect is happening in your versus goat? It is not looking as goat. That is for goat versus fish.
That is true, but this versus is not over.
It is not. It is not.
It's only beginning.
Fourth choosing by fish.
Another fish.
Another fish!
Another fish.
Fish, 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 fish.
Fish, 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 fish.
Fish, 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 fish. Tell us of this fish.
Okay, this fish is Marilyn. She is a HR director for a Sears in Chicago. This store is probably going under soon, so we're just doing our best to rally around this fish and give her the support she needs for when her job inevitably goes away.
That is a fish.
That's
That
a fish.
is a fish. 2 fence sitters, but then 2 fish. You did say the fence sitters would become fish, and look, there are 2 fence sitters, and now there are 2 fish.
I'm true to my word, GoatVsFish.
The 4th choosing by goat. The goat makes a 4th choosing in the verses of the choosing. The verses of the choosing.
It is another fence sitter.
It is another fence sitter.
Another fence sitter.
Yes, what you say now? What you say to this fence sitter? Yes, saying all fancy things.
It is saying all fancy things. However, it's a very inquisitive fence, which leads me to believe it too has the power of knowledge, which leads me also to believe it too is a goat deep down.
What has happened? What has happened, fish? What has happened to your fence sitters? Goat versus fish cannot even see the fence sitters. Oh, you have covered them by fish.
They're just hanging out with the fish. They're spending like a day together to see like, hey, let's just hang out and be buddies. And it's working because these fence sitters are clearly becoming fish.
Ah, yes, this is a clever fish. Yes, you would say to the fence sitter, yes, you are so pitiable, but you would try to make them fish, yes? Try to get them to choose fish.
No, we're just trying to give them a good day because we know, it's hard to be on the fence. It's spiky and it hurts a little bit. A lot of us have been there before. And the fence, it's a picket fence, obviously. It hurts.
The 5th choosing a fish.
Okay.
The 5th choosing a fish.
It's another fish.
It is another fish!
I suspect foul
It
play.
is another fish!
I suspect foul play.
Oh, so when your rigging didn't go right, you decide it's foul play now?
I'm sorry, I do not know what you're talking
You
about. I
heard me
suspect
fine.
foul play.
This is like the NBA draft all over again.
I do not know what the NBA is.
Fish. It was 2 fence sitters, and then it was 3 fish.
Three fish.
Tell us of this 3rd fish. How are things all fish?
Well, this third fish is Michael. He is a stand-up comedian in Los Angeles. He's a good guy. He's a fish. He was one of the original fish, I would call him. He's an idol for all fish because
is that so?
yes.
Goat versus fish would like to meet that one, yes.
I bet you would.
Though you describe it as good yet again, that sounds fence-sitterly again.
Great is the right word.
Ah, yes, a great fish. A great fish called
Fish
Michael,
often
yes.
misspeak.
I smoke a lot of weed and I stutter. So
How do you smoke
Seaweed.
underwater?
have you ever heard of those things at the bottom of the ocean that just spray boiling water up? Well, you take the seaweed, you roll it up in a clamshell, and you just like hold it over, and you just inhale the vapors in bubble form.
Vapors
In bubble form.
Bubble form.
Yeah.
Goat, you may speak about whatever you wish, but there is still a 5th choosing for this
There is.
goat. What do you say, goat? There are 3 fish now. 3 fish.
I see.
The 5th choosing of goat. The 5th choosing of goat. The 5th choosing of goat. This is goat versus fish. Verses of choosing.
'Tis a goat.
It is a goat. It is a goat. Goat, 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 goat. Goat, 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 goat. Tell us of this goat. Tell us of this goat.
This goat is a magnificent beast.
Second
goat-
time you've used the word magnificent.
At least I use the proper terms. I don't say that this goat is good
Whatever
because
you say.
I know what a goat is. This goat goes by the name of Kobe Bean Bryant, who exceeded expectations and rose above constantly to being the greatest of all time within his field. That is what goat this is.
Now, fish, do tell us, do interpret what this verses is. You have 3 fish and 2 fence sitters. Now that you look at them all together, tell us of this verses. What do you bring to this verses?
What do I bring to this verses?
Well, you have made the choosing. Yes, what does this choosing bring to this verses now?
It clearly shows me that, like, we as fish need to reach out to the fence sitters and be like, hey, you have a home with us. We don't care what's happened in the past for you. We don't care if you were a goat. We don't care if you were neither at any point. We're here for you, buddies. All of you.
And Goat, what do you say of what you have brought to this verses through your choosing?
Well, to this I say, a true goat doesn't leave it up to chance. A true goat knows what it is from the start, and it knows that not everyone's cut out to be a goat. So naturally, there will be more fish flopping around, but ultimately, the goat, they still reign supreme.
Now it is so, Goat. It is so that at the beginning and at the end of this verses of the choosing, it was Goat at the beginning,
True.
and it was Goat at the end. Yes, this is an evidence for Goat. And as for the fish, did start very fence-sitterly, but look, 3 fish.
All 3.
Fish, fish, fish. 2 fence-sitters, 3 fish, and for the goat, 2 fence-sitters, and 1 fish. Now, the ones who listen, you may disagree, yes, and you may say to GoatVsFish on the Twitterver or the Instagram if you think it was the fish who did triumph or you think it is the goat who did triumph. Before we say who GoatVsFish does say who does triumph, how do the ones communicate with this fish if they wish to communicate with this fish on the Instagram or the Twitterver?
You can find this fish on both Instagram and Twitter at Caine47. That's ACAINE 47.
And what of this goat? How do they communicate with this goat?
You can find me on social media at _Nate Robinson Jr.
Now, GoatVsFish is looking at these verses of choosing, and it can only be fish. The fish do triumph in the verses of choosing!
The fish triumph. It feels magnificent, I must say.
The fish do triumph. The fish do triumph over the goat. The fish do triumph. The fish do triumph over the goat.
Celebrate the fish. Let's go.
It is a fish. It's the triumph of fish.
This is just a small step. We as fish need to just keep working together, guys. We're doing so well. We're not doing good. We're doing well. We'll be great one day. One day we will overtake the goats, and then we can all live in peace.
3 fish! 3 fish! What was the
3.
feeling of this fish when you chose that 3rd fish? What was the feeling of this fish?
I mean, I've never won an NBA championship or a sporting event ever. I'm very not into athletics, but I have to say this was the greatest physical accomplishment I have ever received in my life.
We celebrate this fish.
We should.
Celebrate this fish.
Yay.
Goat.
Yes.
What has happened, Goat? What has happened in this verses? You are so sure. You
Fate.
were so sure that you would triumph, and now.
Confidence is key amongst goat, and we will prevail. This goat will take this licking on the chin, but in the end, the goat will triumph. I'm still confident. Well played.
That was the nicest thing a goat has ever said in existence. So thank you. I appreciate it. Well played by you too.
Thank you for joining Goat vs. Fish. These are the verses of Goat vs. Fish. Subscribe, rate, and review the Goat vs. Fish podcast on the YouTube and the iTunes. Follow Goat vs. Fish on all social media. The Instagram, the Book of Faces, the Twitterver, all at Goat vs. Fish, all at GoatVsFish. And to witness a live verses of Goat vs. Fish at one of the comedy places or conventions, go to GoatVsFish.com. That's GoatVsFish.com to find the places and times of all future verses. The theme celebration for this verses was an offering by McHenry on SoundCloud, a fish. And if you, one who listens, has a celebration of GoatVsFish in song or poem or any other celebration, do send it to GoatVsFish@gmail.com. Send your celebrations and send your questions. Send your visages of goat and fish, for GoatVsFish may celebrate them on an upcoming verses. Join the GoatVsFish discussion group on the Book of Faces to discuss GoatVsFish with other goat and fish. And when you are out in the land and the sea, look about you. Look about you. Find one who is lost. Find one who does not know the way. And ask. Simply ask, are you goat? Or are you fish? Goat and fish. Would you verses again? Would you verses again with GoatVsFish at another verses?
Yes,
Till the end of time.
absolutely.
And it was written, and it was written.
I believe it will. A fence sitter will win presidency in 2028 and 2024 and 2020.
Is that so?
I
You
believe
bring
so.
these verses to GoatVsFish, it will be all fences? It will be all fences?
All fences. I'm sorry, because that's just not a... It's a shame that there are no fish that are going to be president in that amount of time.
What of you? Would you not become this president? Would this one Alex Caine fish not become president if it meant that the
Oh, no.
president, as you call it, would not be a fence sitter?
I smoke way too much weed. I would probably be a fun president, but not a good one. I've thought about this a lot, but I'd be better than a goat, so maybe one day.
I would push for a dictatorship.
Point proven, right? I mean,